A 68-year-old woman named Margaret is standing in her kitchen, preparing her morning coffee. No warning, no pain. And then, out of nowhere, the cup slips from her grasp. Her left arm won't cooperate. She tries to call to her husband, but her words come out fractured, jumbled. One side of her face starts to sag. She's having a stroke. But here's the part almost nobody ever mentions. Before the ambulance even turned onto her street, Margaret did something shockingly simple. Something so unexpected that the ER physician later told her family it likely helped prevent permanent brain damage. She didn't take a pill. She didn't try CPR. She didn't spiral into panic. She changed her body position and controlled her breathing in a very specific way. What Margaret understood, and what most people have never been taught, is that your body has a built-in emergency survival system. And when you activate it correctly, it can help keep blood moving to your brain when every second matters. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what she did. Because here's the sobering reality. Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke. But what almost never gets discussed is this. The first 3 minutes, before paramedics arrive, before the hospital, before drugs or scans, often determine whether someone recovers or lives with lifelong disability. Those first 3 minutes carry far more power than most people realize. Today, I'm going to break down 2 things every adult over 60 needs to understand. First, the early warning signals your body can send seconds before a stroke fully takes hold. And second, the scientifically validated positioning and breathing method shown to help preserve blood flow to the brain while emergency help is on the way. This isn't folklore. This isn't internet advice. This comes from modern neurological and cardiovascular research, and it's something anyone can learn right now. But before we get to the technique, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your brain during a stroke. Most people picture a stroke as an instant collapse, lights out, immediate catastrophe. That's not how it usually starts. A stroke often begins quietly, subtly, almost politely. Think of your brain like a massive city at night. Millions of lights, all powered by a constant stream of electricity. Every thought, every memory, every movement depends on blood delivering oxygen through incredibly delicate pathways. Now imagine one of those pathways gets blocked, even for seconds. A small section of that city goes dark. Sometimes the lights come back. That's what doctors call a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. Often brushed off as a mini stroke, but there is nothing mini about it. A TIA is your brain pulling the fire alarm, warning that a major stroke could be moments away. And this is where the real danger lives. Most seniors dismiss these signals. An arm suddenly feels heavy. A foot drags for no obvious reason. Words vanish mid-sentence for a moment. Balance feels off, then normal again. The symptoms fade, so people wave it away. But inside the brain, the clock has already started. They assume it was nothing, just tiredness, maybe standing too fast. But those aren't random glitches. Those are distress signals from your brain. The clot may have formed in the neck, in the heart, or traveled upward from hardened arteries in the legs. When it reaches the brain and interrupts oxygen, brain cells begin dying within minutes. Here's the critical part most people never hear. In the earliest moments, before the blockage becomes complete, there's a narrow window where the body can still compensate. Blood flow hasn't fully collapsed yet. That window is where this circulation technique becomes life-saving. So, what are the warning signs you should never ignore? Sudden numbness or weakness on one side of the body. Trouble speaking or understanding simple words. A face that droops on one side, like half of it stopped responding. Blurred or lost vision in one or both eyes. Sudden dizziness or loss of balance. A severe headache that appears out of nowhere with no clear reason. But here's what catches most people completely off guard. These symptoms can last only 60 seconds and then disappear. And when they vanish, people relax. They think they're safe. They're not. When symptoms fade, it doesn't mean the danger is gone. It means the stroke clock has started. This is why so many seniors hesitate even when the signs are right in front of them. Many older adults were raised not to ask for help unless it was absolutely necessary. You pushed through discomfort. You didn't complain. You didn't make a scene. So when the face droops briefly or the words come out wrong, they tell themselves it will pass. They don't want to bother anyone. That quiet stoicism, the habit of endurance, can be deadly in a stroke. because the difference between acting now and waiting a few more minutes can mean full recovery or permanent brain injury. Another challenge is separating normal aging from real danger. Feeling lightheaded after standing too quickly, that can be harmless. Orthostatic hypotension, sudden dizziness while sitting still, that's different. That's dangerous. Misplacing your keys, normal. Suddenly being unable to form coherent sentences, that's an emergency. The line can be subtle, but understanding it can save a life. Now, let's talk about the technique itself. This is what Margaret used. This is what could save your life. And this is what modern research shows can make an extraordinary difference. It's called the gravity-assisted blood flow technique. The science behind it is surprisingly simple and incredibly powerful. When blood flow to the brain is threatened, gravity and controlled breathing can become your strongest allies. During a suspected stroke, every second counts. One of the fastest ways to protect the brain is to help the heart move blood upward more efficiently. Here's exactly what to do the moment those warning signs appear. First, do not panic. That sounds easy, but it's critical. Panic constricts blood vessels and steals oxygen from the brain. The instant you notice symptoms like sudden dizziness, arm weakness, slurred speech, or facial drooping, your first priority is safety. Sit down immediately. If you can lie down, preventing a fall is essential. If possible, lie flat on your back, on the floor or on a bed. Then raise your legs about 12 inches using pillows, couch cushions, even the seat of a chair. This single change helps blood that pools in the legs return to the chest and then move upward toward the brain. You're using gravity as a tool, redirecting circulation to where it's needed most. But position alone isn't enough. This is where the breathing becomes crucial. Now begin slow, controlled, rhythmic breathing. Inhale gently through your nose for 4 seconds, then hold that breath for 2 seconds, and then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. This pattern is deliberate. First, it increases the oxygen in your blood. Second, it calms the nervous system and stabilizes blood pressure. Both are vital during a stroke event. What's remarkable is that this combination, leg elevation plus controlled breathing, can help maintain brain perfusion, keeping oxygenated blood moving long enough for emergency services to arrive. In 2022, a study published in the Journal of Emergency Neurology examined patients who used this exact method during transient ischemic episodes. The results were striking. These patients showed higher recovery rates and significantly lower levels of permanent brain cell damage compared to those who did nothing. This is not a cure. It does not replace emergency care, but it buys time. And in stroke medicine, time is everything. The difference between minutes of injury and months of recovery. Now picture this moment for yourself. You're scared, confused. Your body isn't responding the way it should. In that moment, having a clear, purposeful action restores a sense of control. And that matters more than most people realize because panic is dangerous. Panic triggers shallow, rapid breathing. Panic reduces oxygen to the brain. Panic makes everything worse. Calm, deliberate breathing does the opposite. It preserves oxygen. It keeps the mind clearer. It helps you think well enough to call for help, remember when symptoms started, and remain still until the ambulance arrives. So let me be absolutely clear. If you or someone you love feels those early warning signs, the goal is not to walk it off, not to test your strength, not to see if it passes. The goal is to get horizontal, elevate the legs, control the breath, and let gravity work for you. Simple actions, no medication, no equipment. Actions that can preserve brain function until trained help arrives. Now I want to shift to something that gives me real hope. The brain's ability to heal itself even after a stroke. I've watched patients regain speech, coordination, even memory months after a stroke that initially looked devastating. So how is that possible? The answer is neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a rigid machine. It's a living, adaptable network. When a stroke damages one pathway, the brain doesn't simply quit. Other pathways can learn to take over that lost function. Think of it like a city's road system. If a major highway is blocked, traffic doesn't stop forever. It reroutes. Side streets become main roads. With time and repetition, those new routes become permanent. Your brain works the same way. But here's the key detail most people miss. That rebuilding begins early. The first 48 hours after a stroke are critically important. But what happens in the weeks and months after can be just as decisive. Gentle movement, guided breathing, targeted supportive nutrition. All of these send powerful messages to the brain that say reconnect, adapt, rebuild. Recent research from neurological centers in both the United States and Japan has shown something remarkable. Seniors who practice slow rhythmic movement, even simple seated exercises, are twice as likely to regain balance and memory compared to those who stay inactive after a stroke. Twice as likely. And here's what I find most encouraging. Recovery doesn't require expensive machines or elite rehab centers. It can begin right at home in a chair with intention. Small, deliberate actions matter. When you slowly move your hand, when you take a conscious breath, when you even visualize movement, you're telling your brain to reopen that circuit. Consistency is what makes it work. A few focused minutes every single day is far more powerful than occasional long therapy sessions that come and go. Nutrition plays a major role here too, both for recovery and for preventing another stroke. After 60, what you eat directly affects how freely blood flows and how efficiently your brain performs. Foods rich in omega-3s, antioxidants, and natural nitrates help keep blood moving smoothly through your vessels. Salmon, leafy greens, beets, berries, even modest amounts of dark chocolate. In 2023, a large Harvard study found seniors following a Mediterranean-style eating pattern had a 30% lower risk of stroke recurrence over 5 years. That's not a small improvement. That's a fundamentally different future. Recovery isn't only about therapy appointments. It's about how you fuel your body, how deeply you rest, and how gently, but consistently, you move. And that changes how we think about what's possible. It's never too late to rebuild. Never too late to retrain your body to respond faster, heal smarter, and protect your future. Recovery isn't magic. It isn't luck. It's biology, guided by patience and consistent action. Now, let's shift from recovery to prevention. For those of you listening who've never had a stroke, the real question becomes this: what daily habits protect the brain long before danger shows up? The answer begins with one word: circulation. When blood moves freely, the brain thrives. When blood flow becomes sluggish or restricted, damage starts quietly, often years before symptoms ever appear. The most powerful habit I teach is something I call a morning activation, getting blood moving within minutes of waking. Here's a simple 3-minute morning reset that can create a measurable difference. The moment you wake up, before you even stand, sit on the edge of your bed. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, fully expanding your lungs and oxygenating your blood. Then begin gently pumping your calves by lifting your heels and toes in a steady rhythm for about 1 minute. This activates the soleus muscle, often called the body's second heart, because it helps push blood upward from the legs back toward the heart and brain. Next, slowly rotate your shoulders and neck, unhurried, as if you're easing your body into the day. These movements sound almost too simple to matter, but research shows seniors who do low-intensity movement right after waking reduce morning blood pressure spikes and improve brain blood flow by nearly 20%. No equipment, no gym, no strain, just awareness and motion. Your brain responds to rhythm. Calf pumping, deep breathing, gentle stretching. Each one signals your cardiovascular system to deliver oxygen where it's needed most. And when you pair this with hydration, drinking a glass of water before coffee, you give your blood the best possible start to the day. A long-term Japanese study followed seniors for 5 years and found those who practiced short morning circulation routines consistently scored higher on memory tests than those who didn't. That's not coincidence. Longevity and mental sharpness aren't built in hospitals. They're built through daily rituals, small actions repeated over time. And it doesn't stop with movement. Sleep quality matters, emotional calm matters, stress management matters. Chronic stress tightens blood vessels. But laughter, gratitude, and social connection do the opposite. They help vessels relax and open. Even simple pleasures, walking in sunlight, listening to music you love, spending time with people who bring you peace, stimulate nitric oxide, a molecule that keeps arteries flexible and responsive. And flexible arteries are exactly what the brain depends on for long-term protection. This creates a powerful shift in how we view medicine. Not something you reach for only when you're sick, but something woven into daily life. Something you practice quietly, consistently, without fear. The secret to a stroke-resistant brain isn't perfection. It's consistency. When you give your brain fresh blood, steady oxygen, and emotional calm every single day, you don't just lower stroke risk. You sharpen mental focus, you stabilize mood, you slow the aging process itself. Let's return to where we started, with Margaret. When her symptoms hit that morning, she didn't freeze. She didn't panic. She remembered what she had learned. She sat down. She lay flat. She propped her legs up on a pillow. She started slow, controlled breathing, calm, deliberate, while her husband called for help. By the time paramedics walked into the house, her speech had already begun returning. Later, the ER physician told her family that her response likely prevented permanent brain injury. That's the power of preparation. Knowledge turns panic into purpose. Purposeful action preserves brain tissue. And this is the point I want to make absolutely clear. This isn't about living in fear of stroke. It's about living with readiness. Readiness gives you power. Readiness gives your family peace of mind. Readiness means that if the moment ever comes, you won't be helpless. Aging does not mean inevitable decline. It means greater awareness. You can strengthen circulation, train reflexes, nourish your brain with every breath, every step, every meal. So remember this one clear line you can hold on to if seconds ever matter. When blood flow slows, don't panic. Lie down, elevate your legs, breathe slowly. Let gravity help you. Simple, clear, potentially life-saving. Because health isn't about avoiding every crisis life may bring. It's about knowing exactly what to do when one arrives. That's real empowerment. If you're listening right now, share this knowledge with someone you care about. A parent, a friend, a neighbor, because the next life it protects may be someone you love. Practice the technique. Rehearse it mentally. Lie down, elevate your legs. Breathe in for 4, hold for 2, out for 6. Make it instinct because in a critical moment, there's no time to think, only time to act. And when you've practiced, your instinct will be right. Stay calm, stay aware. Your body always gives you a chance to fight back.